Welcome everybody to part 2 of 4.5. We're talking about dividing a polynomial by a polynomial. An example to kind of lead us into this topic is 2x plus x minus 10 divided by x minus 2. Okay, what is this about? What is this saying? Well, it's saying what times this will equal this, okay? So if you wanted to ask the question, for example, 12 divided by 4. What's that saying? It's saying 4 times what will give you 12. 12 is the bigger number. It's the one doing the dividing. Okay, so 4 times what gives you 12. We're basically breaking down what is the other factor besides x minus 2 that goes into 2x squared plus x minus 10. Okay, so how do we approach this problem? This is one way. Synthetic division is another way. I'll talk about that in a different video, but today we're just doing normal division. I think it's easier to understand what it is we're doing from this setup. Okay, so step 1, it's a 5-step process, but step 1 is the setup. We put 2x squared plus x minus 10 inside the house. That's one doing the dividing. And then we have x minus 2, and that's the guy being divided. I think this is the divisor and this is the dividend or something like that. I can't remember the exact names. You're like, you're a math teacher, you're supposed to know? Whatever. The important thing is the setup. Vocabulary is always secondary in my opinion. Fill in any missing terms if necessary. Okay, I know I didn't say that exactly as this is written, but the point is if we're missing terms in standard form. So for example, if this were 3x cubed minus 10, we'd be missing a couple things. We'd be missing our x squared term. We'd be missing our x term. You want every exponent represented. You want the 3, the 2, the 1, the 0. Okay, x to the 0. So if you start off with x squared, you have to have an x to the first and then an x to the 0. So we're good with this particular setup. But imagine we have x cubed minus x10, so these are gone. Well, that's when we're missing some terms, so you have to fill in, but you can't just put x squared, you have to put 0 and 0. Okay, and I'll talk about that more later, but that's what that means. You have to fill in any missing terms if necessary, if you're missing some. Okay, so we put x minus 2 on the outside, and the reason why this is in pink is because this is the guy that you are concentrating on. Let's go pink, I guess. Okay, this is the guy you're concentrating on. And you want to know how much is that leading term, okay, that's called the leading term. The minus 2 we're not really concerned with at all. We want to know the leading term, how much it goes into each one of these separate. So if you were to do long division, okay, if you were to do long division, you would go one at a time through this guy. How much does this guy go into this, then this guy go into that, okay? So this is the same thing, but now we're working with x, and we're just worried about the x, we're not worried about the minus 2, okay? So step 2, that's the setup. Step 2 is we're going to divide, okay? So we're going to say, how many times does x go into 2x squared? Well, it goes into it 2x times. How do I know that? Well, I know that 2x times x, okay, x is my leading term, is going to equal 2x squared. So that's why it works out like that. We're finding the factors, okay, as we go along for each step of the way. So we know it goes into x squared. Now, what do? We write the result. The result means that we are going to write 2x, that's what we determined, right, times x minus 2. Okay, we write the result of that. We don't just write 2x squared. That's not going to do us any good. We have to multiply it by the whole thing, x minus 2. It's like the same thing. Oh, I erased it. I think I had 3 and then 8, 1, 4, 2 or something like that. 3 goes into 8 2 times, and you do 3 times 2. Remember, 3 times 2, and we write 6 there and see what we get when we subtract. It's the same thing here. We wrote it goes in 2x times to 2x squared. That's where this comes from. And then we write x minus 2 because we have to multiply what that result is. Okay, so now we're going to do some multiplication, and we get 2x squared, that's the whole point, minus 2x. minus, oops, that's not 2x, minus 4x, sorry. We multiply 2x times, we get 2x squared minus 4x, and that's why we write that there, okay? Now what do? We subtract and drop. That's step 4. This is just like in normal long division, okay? We are going to subtract. I don't know why that didn't make a straight line. Let's try this again. We're going to subtract these. What happened? Disappeared again. We're going to subtract these. Okay. And we're going to see what we get. So we get 2x squared plus x minus 2x squared minus 4x. This is the part that's tricky that I don't really care for, but this is just the nature of the beast. We have to put this in parentheses. Okay, that means we're doing 2x squared minus 2x squared. That's going to give us 0, x squared, if you want to write that. And then we have x minus a negative. This is what I don't like, but it's just, I'm sorry, this is just a fact. If you have two minuses, it's going to turn into plus. So this really becomes plus 4x, so then we get plus 5x after. That's our result. So we subtracted, and then we dropped. Okay, actually we didn't drop yet, but we subtracted and we get 5x. Okay, this is going to disappear. So I want to erase it. Just so you know, this disappears. 0x squared is the same thing as just 0. It goes away. And we have 5x as a result of subtracting 2x squared plus x minus 2x squared minus 4x. Okay, so we get 5x. Now this is the drop part. Okay, subtract. We're done with subtracting. Now we're going to drop. Drop means we're going to take this guy, this minus 10, whatever's to the right of this next term. Okay, so we subtracted this. The next guy we drop is to the right of that. Okay, to the right of that. So now we're going to drop this guy down, minus 10. Now what do? We repeat the process, subtract and drop. We dropped, we're done with this step. Okay, rewrite, subtract and drop. Now we repeat this. We repeat basically from here, from step 2 down. Okay, so now we're going to say, okay, we're looking at this 5x here. We want to know how much this x goes into that 5x, just like long division. And we're going to say, okay, it goes in 5 times, positive 5x. Or positive 5 times. How do I know that? Well, that's because x times 5 gives me 5x. We want to know what times x will give us 5x. Okay, and it's 5. So that's how we got that plus 5. What do we do with that plus 5 now? Well, we wrote 5 here. That was what ended up being the division, and we're going to multiply it by, again, x minus 2. Copy, paste. Okay, so we need to do this multiplication. We get 5x minus 10, and we're going to write that here. 5x, right result, 5x minus 10. We need to subtract this now, just like we did before. Always put parentheses, okay, and now we need to be careful. 5x minus 5x gives me 0. Negative 10 minus a negative 10 is the same thing as negative 10 plus 10 also gives me 0. And there's nothing left to drop. So we just got done dividing that. There's nothing to the right. We are finished with this. So our final answer, after we do this division, is 2x plus 5. Okay? Now, what's the last step? Check. Okay, so we're done with the repeat. We repeat that as many times as necessary. Now we're going to check our answer. We have 2x plus 5 and x minus 2. What we can do here is we have x minus 2 and then 2x plus 5. 2x plus 5. The check process means that we're going to multiply these together to see if we got what's underneath the parentheses. I know this is very messy, but we want to see if it gets us this as our answer. And we can easily do that right here. So we're going to FOIL, or however you want to call it, LOIF, or I like to just call it distribute. And we're going to get 2x squared minus 10. Now we're going to go on to blue. Minus 4x. And then, what was that, minus 10? I think I messed up. So we get x minus 2, 2x plus 5. We get x, 2x squared, plus 5. Oh, I'm not sure what happened here. This is supposed to be plus 5x. There we go, plus 5x. Then we get minus 4x. There we go. Minus 10. Okay. We're going to combine like terms, and once we combine like terms, we're going to get 2x squared minus x, plus x minus 10. And that should be our answer. Let's see if it matches up. And it does. It matches this, so we know we divided correctly. You can always check your answer. That'd be the same thing as if we did 12 divided by 4 and we get 3. And we check our answer by doing 3 times 4 equals 12. It's the same process, but now we have variables, okay? So if you're good with this, we're going to move on to part 3 of the video by... We're going to do part 3 of the video by doing some examples, okay? So if I wanted to introduce it here, we're going to have part 3 of the video doing some examples. This is a little bit of a meatier section in math, so be patient, but join us next time to see an example as we go through it a little bit quicker.